Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Now, shout out to everyone who was on the casual stream yesterday, a day late, but due to that, there's more to talk about. There's still some more thoughts I've got based on the situation with Ryan Garcia and the adverse findings, the Oscar De La Hoya stuff, the Gervonta Davis and Eddie Hearn stuff, the Chantel Cameron stuff. I've got a lot more to say on all of that stuff there. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, let's address the Gervonta Davis angle in this whole situation. So prior to, he said something when he was about to face Ryan. He actually said that he thought that Ryan was dirty. He was out there juicing, etc, etc. Obviously, so made him do the stipulation 136 plus the £10 rehydration clause. We all know how that one turned out. Now he's pretty much, as soon as this stuff has come out, he's all of a sudden on the other side saying that, well, it's a conspiracy, it's everything to do with Eddie Hearn. Like it's he's the one. Every time one of his fighters is in one of these situations, all of a sudden someone be popping dirty, or words to those effect. I couldn't get the exact quotes because I didn't screenshot them. I don't actually follow him, but as we know, a lot of that stuff has now been deleted. But I just look at it from the perspective of, well, first of all, I mean, number one, what's it really got to do with you? Whether or not he if he is or isn't guilty, and then how does Eddie Hearn play into that? But then when you kind of think about it and you say to yourself, okay, well, Ryan Garcia, the win that Gervonta had over him ages a lot better if he gets the victory over Devin Haney, who's a former undisputed champion, 2-weight champion, and the next person who is almost like the danger to the throne that Gervonta seems to feel like he inhabits, and his fans will tell you that he inhabits. So it's a win that appreciates very well instead of depreciates, a lot like the Pedraza one and the Hector Luis Garcia and Leo Santa Cruz and the Rolly Romero. Like all of those wins, none of those wins are actually aging that well. Even the Isaac Cruz one, it hasn't aged great. Yes, he beat Rolly, but he beat a Rolly that was already shown to be very frail prior, so it doesn't show that one up in a great light. But beating Ryan Garcia, who then just beat the hell out of Devin Haney, to the most fans looks on a that makes your resume seem a lot more substantial than it is. But now with the whole, well, he missed the weight, he didn't come in at the limit that everyone else did, so he came in comfortable, as he said, on his own mark. Now there's allegations of adverse findings, performance enhancing substances in his system to do what he done, to still end up only getting a majority decision win. Because let's not forget, there was a card that had that fight a draw. It doesn't look great for Tank. So how do you then do that? You have to go to bat for the guy that you beat to make that victory stay with the same level of significance and value as it had prior. But yeah, look, him going back and forth with Eddie Hearn didn't really make much sense. Even him going back and forth with Clarissa Shields, that didn't make any sense. Obviously, I know both of them from Baltimore, so I don't know if there's that's my mistake. No, so she's from Flint, Michigan. He's from Baltimore. But I was thinking of Franchon Cruz. But with that, it's like, okay, well, all she's saying is, well, it doesn't really make much sense if you defending Ryan now when you was going at him previously. So he's clapping back at her. Then he took a swipe at her looks. And look, I'm not gonna say you can't do that, because I'm not gonna say I've criticized her looks as such, but yeah, I've made comments in the past, but the way that he's phrased it is like, oh well, she can't be trusted because look how she looks anyway. That doesn't really make much sense. That's not really a great angle to come at that scenario from, as far as I'm concerned. But we are where we are. It seems a bit like Tank is trying to be a bit desperate to hold on to his signature win, because at the moment that's what it looks like, especially after the Devin Haney thing. If that fight ends up now becoming a no contest and that win gets scrubbed off the record and everyone knows, oh, Ryan failed these 2 tests and he didn't even make the weight and X, Y and Z, and he made fun of mental health in order to garner an advantage, and X, Y, Z and all these other bits and pieces, the win just starts to depreciate rapidly and horribly. And that's not what Tank wants. So yeah, that's my opinion on why he's now trying to wade into this particular situation and why he's choosing Eddie Hearn as the easy target. I think, as I said on the channel yesterday, Eddie will come back at you with words like witty retorts. He's not really going to send like legal documentation to you unless you really force him to, and he's not going to hamper your career. He's still gonna make offers towards you, you know, and he'll still try and do business even if like you disrespect him. Whereas there's other guys, you're not putting that target on their back because they will put a different kind of target on your back and it will not end well for you. But yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on it. Please feel free to leave yours down below, and we will see who agrees and who doesn't. So I didn't get to go down to the Queensbury signings announcement that was happening earlier. I could have, but things are going on and it was probably best for me not to make that trip right now. However, I do suspect that Chantel Cameron was one of those signings. I haven't seen any of the official press releases yet to suggest that is the case, but again, as I said on the stream yesterday, in terms of talent, I've always rated Chantel and I've always liked her as a boxer. I've always rated her skills. As you guys know, I did pick her to beat Katie Taylor in the first fight, and then I did pick Katie Taylor to win the rematch, so I've got no allegiance on either side of that. I've always backed Chantel. The one time that I can honestly say that I won't say that I didn't bet against her, but I was hoping for the other person to win or at least get a favorable decision was when she fought Mary McGee, because I quite liked a lot of Mary McGee's, like her past, her backstory. I don't often give on those basis and those principles. I don't usually make my picks that way, and I don't think I made my pick that way within the fight as well. But I was hoping, I think that my pick was wrong just on that particular scenario, because I did like Mary McGee. But outside of that, I've never bet against Chantel. I've always supported her journey, but there's just a lot of stuff that she's done recently which just doesn't sit right with me or a lot of other people. I mean, the whole thing that she just feels that, you know, that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom haven't done a good job for her. Obviously, she felt the same way about Cyclone Promotions back in 2017, 2018, whenever she signed that contract with them. Shout out to Sasha Jones. She said that she believes that Matchroom haven't done right by Chantel Cameron. I think she said that she was looking to go live regarding that, so I'm gonna have to see what angle she comes at it from, but I can only repeat the same things that Eddie Hearn has said and most other people have said. Like, he basically engineered a tournament so that the winners could face off against each other and give her the opportunity to become undisputed. Like, he kept her as the headliner of an event that Dillian White had to withdraw from, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars with literally about, I mean, hundreds of thousands of pounds, sorry, with about, at the time when that fight took place, there must have been about 800 people in the O2, if that. There might even have been less than that, and I remember vividly because they was letting people just come up and down the aisles, like into the onto the floor area without even checking tickets. So as soon as Johnny Fisher and Alan Babbage left, like the whole place pretty much emptied out. But he kept that show on for her. You know, when Kaylee Reese wasn't able to come through for the undisputed fight, like, you know, he managed to get that vacant title engineered it so that vacant title could get put on the line in the Undisputed with Jessica McCaskill. Yeah, I mean, to me, there's a lot of things there. She said she'd never get a Katie Taylor fight, and he got her 2 back to back. Yes, they were both in Ireland. Yes, you were the B-side on both, even though you won the first one. And I get maybe that's a bit frustrating, but that's Katie Taylor. All of that stuff. And it just always seems like she's just not grateful. And, you know, I'm not saying that you've got to love Matchroom or whatever, but there's very few people whereby if they say that they haven't been treated well, or they don't feel like that team or any of the teams have done a good job for them, where they can't show me any anecdotal evidence that would suggest that that's what happened. And in this case, most of the time I will side with the fighters, but I can't see any way here where you can say that you were poorly, treated poorly, treated badly, even to the point where Eddie Hearn, it took one of his premier prospects, like contenders, Ellie Scotney, off of a card just so you could fight on it, even though both her and her opponent wanted to be on that card, wanted to be on neutral territory, being on such a big card for them, for their opportunities to win a world title as well, or retain the title in front of a bigger possible audience than probably the audience they ended up with. Because if I remember correctly, that fight ended up on the what was it? It was Sonny Edwards, the Sonny Edwards and Pedro Campos card, which wasn't that the one that took place. I think it took place in at Wembley, the AO Arena. It wasn't massively full. Whereas the Katie Taylor one was the platform. But he did that for Chantel Cameron. So I just don't understand where she comes out and says that she hasn't been treated right, or she doesn't feel that they've done the best job for her. I mean, Undisputed Championships don't just happen by themselves. Like, but yeah, look, I wish her the best. I would like to get an opportunity to chat to her at some point and understand what her issue is, what she's upset about. I'm sure if she reaches out to someone like October Red, or if she does go on the Sasha Jones, her channel or her Twitex or whatever, I'm sure that maybe she can unearth some stuff here that we don't know about. And if that's the case, cool, I'll say I was wrong. But just on that, from the outside looking in, it just doesn't seem as if she's got a leg to stand on in this situation. But yeah, look, hope for the best, and we can just put that to the side, keep it moving. Now let's talk about this whole Oscar De La Hoya, Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, Jaime Munguia, this whole little this quartet that we seem to have, which is it's quite, the whole situation is funny, because you get, as I said yesterday, you get the whole Oscar De La Hoya trying to bring up the failed drug tests of Canelo Alvarez, which he was actually in fact cleared of. Whether people believe he was cheating or not, I'm just putting out there, he was actually cleared of any wrongdoing. He was cleared of taking anything, etc. But he brought that out, obviously in the idea just to rile up Canelo Alvarez, which makes sense. You kind of want to get him off his game a bit, so I hope that he's taking his eye off the ball so that Jaime Munguia's got a much better opportunity to win the fight. That's fine. But then you've got Canelo, who's then comes back out and says that Oscar ultimately, he steals money from his fighters, and he tries to steal the limelight from them as well. He wants to make everything about him as opposed to doing the best work for his fighters and everything. I mean, those are pretty damning allegations. But then obviously we then see that the flip side, where you've got Oscar talking about Canelo's failed tests, and then all of a sudden Ryan has failed tests put out to the public less than 3 hours after the press conference. And the whole time you think to yourself, what is this karma just sort of coming around to Oscar, as in, because every time Oscar seems to say something, whether it's to Eddie Hearn, or like stay out of America, you don't know what you're doing, all of a sudden then Eddie comes out with like a monster card that everyone's talking about. Or whenever Oscar has a, you know, when he had to go at Turkey Al Sheikh, or said, look, we need these fights in America, we don't want everything going to Saudi, etc. And, you know, His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh said, well, we'll miss him. And then all of a sudden he had to switch up real quick when he started seeing the kind of money and opportunities that was coming around for other people and other fighters. There's a lot of sort of like back talking between Oscar. He likes to say nice things in front of you, then you know, slag you off behind your back. So it's just funny that, you know, he tries to bring up Canelo's failed test, and then his next quote unquote golden boy fails test straight after. Like, you can't really write that kind of storyline. I mean, you can, but normally sometimes people think, oh no, this is way too far-fetched to believe. But we've been seeing in boxing as of recent, there's a lot of things that are happening which you don't even think would be believable in Hollywood scripts, Hollywood films, or even made direct to TV films. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. And this is just one of those scenarios. Now, if we get back to what the potential repercussions are for Ryan Garcia. Now, I personally think, and I said this yesterday, but also shout out to Boxing Beats and Rams, because I think he said something similar on one of his videos that he put out earlier on today. This could be the opportunity, because Ryan he's an ascending star, but he's not a Canelo, he's not a Anthony Joshua, he's not like a proven gate after gate after gate, draw after draw after draw. He's had 2 pay-per-view fights. We don't know the numbers for the second one as of yet. The one for the first one, there's been conflicting numbers, everywhere from 700,000 up to 1.2 million. But let's go with that high number just for the sake of it. You've done that on one occasion. You do move the needle. You've got certain metrics in terms of you know, like social media presence and whatnot, but we don't know how that translates into money. So you're not a proven commodity to the game right now, but you are a high profile and a high visibility person. I wouldn't be surprised if the New York State Athletic Commission make an example out of Ryan if he can't prove innocence, no wrongdoing, or, you know, contamination within the lab, or by transporting, asking for the B sample, whatever, however he decides to go about it. I think that they will try to make an example of him, because he's not someone that they reckon they'll see a consistent amount of drawing power from. He's said on numerous of times that he wants to kind of be out of the game by sort of like 27, 28, definitely by the time he's 30. So if they can't necessarily see that longevity, they might use him as a deterrent for other people, and he could end up with like a 2-year, 2.5, maybe 3-year ban, suspension, plus a fine of probably like 10-20% of whatever the purse would have been that he had, even though he made an extra 8.5 million on top of that with the bet that he put on himself from the bookies. I don't know how that would work in terms of if he would have to run that money back to them based on almost him sort of, I guess, cheating the system. But yeah, I can see a scenario where they make an example and he gets a very lengthy ban if he is found guilty by what they call them, NISAC. And to be honest, I can imagine he may have even looked at this as like the last sort of thing in boxing he wanted to do anyway, because he keeps talking about a Sean O'Malley fight in UFC, or maybe, so I guess he can't do it in boxing if he gets suspended, because no one will license him to be able to have it even as an exhibition. So he might have to end up going over to the cage and facing Sean O'Malley over there if that's really what he wants to do. But he might do that. But if he's got a 2-year ban, I can almost certainly see maybe him doing that as like a last thing, and then literally just moving over into his social media and actually leaving the sport of boxing. Because I don't actually think his heart's in it the way other people's are. He said he'd been boxing since he's like 7 years old, and to him boxing was just a way to get his family out of poverty, so to speak, you know, to put some money in their pockets. Well, he's got more than enough of that now. I don't think he loves the sport the way others do, so if he gets banned, I don't think he's sticking around. As for my thoughts on the whole situation, whether the people have asked me, oh well, if Devin gets a no contest, like, will you still see him as an undefeated fighter? And I'll be like, well, yeah, because he's undefeated. And it's a lot easier for me to rationalize that, because obviously you guys know I told you what my scorecard was when I was watching the fight, and based on how I saw it, at the absolute worst, to me it was a draw. I could see it 111, 113 to Ryan Garcia if someone wanted to give him what was it, 6 rounds in the fight. Potentially I could see where you might get 6 rounds from, but anything outside of that, I mean, look, the 110, 114 I had issues with, but it's not one that I would have argued, but I had it the other way, 113, 111 to Devin Haney. So to me, I feel like he did enough to still win, but I understand why Ryan did win the fight and got no complaints. But if he does get pulled into a no contest, I've got no problem calling Devin Haney an undefeated fighter. I mean, a lot of people have spoken about how that beating would have affected Devin moving forward. Maybe it would take some of his confidence. I thought it would do some good in the sense that it will let him know I can go to the world, I'm a warrior, I can dig deep if I really need to, but also like I can be hurt, I can be broken, so to speak. Like, I didn't think this could happen to me. It's never happened before, it's happened now. But with the revelations coming out of the PED use and whatnot, supposedly, that might do Devin a world of good, because now he can attribute all the bad stuff to the fact that he was facing someone that had more than one unfair advantage on him over the night. Someone that didn't bother to make the weight, someone that was potentially on substances that, you know, are qualitative, that are performance enhancing and help you with physicality and stamina and strength and all that sort of stuff, and muscle. So then he can attribute a lot of the bad things he did to, or the reactions he took to punches, to that, as opposed to, wow, I'm just chinny, I'm weak. So he can use that to sort of to harness some sort of more self-belief. Plus, he knows, based on what he did in that fight, he said himself, I was sleeping on the left hook. So he knows that he did certain things wrong, which we now know that he'll at least tighten up on moving forward in his future fights. So if you can get all the benefits from the loss without actually taking the loss officially on the record and maintaining that undefeated record, maintaining your value, obviously still keeping your championship as you have, a lot of that could be very, very beneficial for Devin. And I'll be interested to see sort of how he does eventually bounce back. Probably we won't see him again till maybe September, October, November time this year, but I would like to see him back sooner rather than later. And if possible, I'd like him to get 3 fights out a year if he can. But definitely the one thing I do want to make sure he starts doing is making sure that he lays down the law to whoever he's working with. I either fight before February or before like the middle or end of February, and or after, say, the middle of May, maybe the end of May, so that you always have that. You've got your dedicated Ramadan period there where you do your fasting, nothing breaks that, you do whatever you need to do. Stop taking fights in and around that region and having to basically compromise your religion and your beliefs in order to do that. Like, whatever it is, make sure you know this is my cutoff date. After this date, this is the next date. You can, and within those 8.5 months, I don't see any reason, 8.5, 9, maybe even 9.5 months, there's no reason why you can't do 3 fights a year for that period, and then only take off the the Ramadan period and do what you're doing in there. That's sort of my thoughts on it. But anyway, leave yours. Let me know kind of how you guys feel about it, if any of this makes sense. And yeah, going to be another live stream on Sunday to make up for the fact there won't be a weekend wrap until Monday afternoon due to the Inoue and Lewis Neary fight. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. But until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. It's the Hardcore Casual out.